Let me show you how to make this Bolivian Sanduiche de Chola.
Todo queda sabroso.
This sandwich hails from the country of Bolivia and is named after the Cholas. No, not this Chola, these Cholas. Actually, the term is Cholitas. These indigenous women from Bolivia proudly embrace their heritage and are a vibrant part of Bolivian culture. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make a spice rub for our picnic shoulder. I have a mortar and pestle here, but you can use a spice grinder or even a blender. We're going to add some coriander seeds, about a teaspoon. We're going to add some cumin seeds, the same, about a teaspoon. About a half a teaspoon of peppercorns, black peppercorns. And then we're going to grind everything until it becomes a powder. Then to this, I'm going to add a generous amount of salt, about, I would say 2 tablespoons. You might say that's a lot of salt, but we really want to make sure that picnic shoulder, that pork, is well seasoned. Give that a quick stir. Okay, we're ready with that. Okay, now we're going to do our marinade, which is what they would call a mojo. So mojo is simply a citrus marinade. And for that, I have a sour orange. And if you can't find sour orange in your supermarket, just go with regular orange, which I have one of those as well, and 3 limes. And I'm just going to juice it over a mesh strainer so that it catches all the seeds. Do the same with the regular orange. Make sure we get all that juice. Then we're going to do the limes. Okay, so here we have the citrus juices. Say that 5 times. Okay, now we're going to prepare our picnic shoulder. This is actually a half pork shoulder. All I'm going to do is poke a lot of holes in that skin. I'm not looking to pierce the flesh. I just want to pierce that skin so that as it's roasting, that skin is going to get nice and crispy. Okay, now that we've done that, we're going to flip it over. Okay, there is a bone that runs through, as you can see here. So we're going to poke holes with a long knife, poke holes into the pork shoulder, trying not to get where that bone is. And we're just going to make a well or a nice deep hole because we're going to fill it with seasoning that we made, but also garlic cloves. Then we're going to grab our spice mixture that we made, making sure you get into the holes. Then we're going to cover the rest. Don't waste any of that seasoning. Now we're going to take whole garlic cloves and stuff them into the holes. Okay, now we're going to take a Ziploc bag, place our pork shoulder inside the bag. Then we're going to take our citrus juices and pour it right into the bag. Seal it up, and then we're going to lay it skin side up so that those citric juices can really permeate that pork meat. Then we're going to place this in the refrigerator overnight, even up to 2 to 3 days, depending on the size of your pork shoulder. I have a half, it's small, so 24 hours would do. Okay, now we're going to pickle our vegetables. I'm starting off with an onion. I'm going to use about 1/4 of an onion. And I'm just going to cut this into thin slices. Then I'm going to place it in a mason jar. And then we're going to do some carrots. First, we're going to peel it. Okay, then we're going to cut the carrot in half. Then we're going to take our mandolin, get our carrot, make sure you use a guard, and then we're going to cut ribbons of the carrot. Then we have a English cucumber, or hothouse cucumber as they call it. I like using this because it has less seeds, and we're going to cut that in the same fashion. Just like that. Place that in our mason jar. Now usually when I make a pickle, it's more on the sour side, but because I'm going to be using a salsa verde as a condiment for the sandwich, I want to make this more slightly sweeter. So I'm putting in 2 tablespoons of sugar. I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of salt, 1 bay leaf, a teaspoon of oregano. This is Dominican oregano, a few peppercorns. And then here I have 1 cup of apple cider vinegar. You can use white vinegar as well, and 1 cup of water. And we're going to put that into our mason jar. I'm going to put the lid on, give it a good shake, make sure the sugar and the salt is dissolved. And there we have our pickled vegetables. We could place this in the fridge, or you can leave it out room temperature for the same amount, 24 hours. Okay, now we're going to start our salsa. We're doing a salsa verde with a little kick. Traditionally, there's a Bolivian salsa that uses locoto pepper, but we can't get that in the States. We can get rocoto pepper. This I got frozen from a Hispanic market, but if you can't find that, they do have a rocoto paste. You can find that on my Walmart page or my Amazon page in the description, and it's going to add a nice spice to our salsa verde. Okay, so to start, I'm going to take my tomatillos and I'm just going to put it on a hot comal to char, as well as a quarter of an onion and 2 garlic cloves. And we're going to add about half of the rocoto pepper. Okay, we're going to use a mortar and pestle. We're going to start with the garlic, and we're just going to mash that up. Throw in our onions with a little salt just to get some grinding action going. Then we're going to add the rocoto pepper. And now we're going to add our tomatillos. Okay, then we're going to add the juice of half a lime. We're also going to add some kosher salt, a 1/4 teaspoon of coriander, about a teaspoon of cumin. And there we have our salsa verde with that rocoto pepper. Okay, here we have the pork shoulder that has been marinating 24 hours. And then I've preheated my oven to 375 because we're going to roast this. Whenever you roast something, the temperature should be between 375 up to 450. And depending on the size of your pork shoulder will determine how long to cook it. This is a half pork shoulder. It's much smaller, so maybe 1.5 hours, 2 hours. I don't want it falling off the bone. I want it tender enough so that I can slice it. Okay, so here we have our finished product. And if you could hear that crispy skin, what I'm going to do now is remove that skin because I want some of that chicharron on the sandwich. And then we're just going to cut slices so that we can assemble our Sanduiche de Chola. All right, now we're going to assemble our Sanduiche de Chola. I have a roll here. You can use a round roll. I'm using what is called a telera roll. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to layer that pork right on top of that bread. Then we're going to take our salsa, that salsa verde that has the rocoto hot pepper in there. And we're just going to dollop that all over that meat. Just like so. Then we're going to take our pickled vegetables and pile it high on top of all that meat. Last but not least, that crispy pork skin right on top. And then top it off. And there we have it. Sanduiche de Chola. Sabroso.
If you like this video, click the recipe tab in the video description, which will take you to our recipe page on Provecho, where you'll get a printer-ready format of the recipe that links directly to Instacart, so you can shop for all the ingredients instantly. You can also follow along with the video as you make something sabroso.
Todo queda sabroso.